I've missed this. How are you guys? I can't talk. How's it going, guys? We ready for a little more of that mobile suit, mush mouth?
Well, not to the mushroom mouth, but let's do with the mobile suits. Definitely. I'm doing pretty good. How are you, sir?
See,
Well, as long as it doesn't involve talking, apparently I'm doing pretty good.
well, that's gonna be a little hard.
I can read the script like this, so it's kind of make it feel better.
Yeah, see, we'll just talk like our 20s gangsters. Yeah. So, welcome, of course, once again, to the Mobile Suit Roundtable. Today we are on episode 10 of the 1979 anime Mobile Suit Gundam. And with me, as always, Mr. Brightest Day. How's it going?
Going pretty good. Hey to everybody in the chat. Welcome back.
Sending that love out. And last minute, we decided to bring back Chris.
Greetings, everyone.
Don't worry, we're paying him an exposure.
Yes.
You're paying me
Actually,
too.
Actually, I've been promoted from unpaid intern to just co-host.
Paid extra.
Ooh.
Unpaid co-host.
Well, apparently the Hollywood rules go that apparently if you can get like 7 or 8 people to all speak at once, you don't have to pay them as much as speaking by themselves. So you could be one of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see, if we all talk over each other, nobody can hear anything. It just kind of think, mixes together.
Yes.
The unfortunate reality of streaming.
I'm still trying to figure out if people do or don't like it when they sing "Happy Birthday" all at once.
Good question.
I'll let you stew on that one a little bit longer.
Well, should we go ahead and actually discuss the episode of the day, Garma's Fate?
Gladly. An episode that took me years to finally see because I was at my dad's house when Toonami aired it and I couldn't see it. Sadly.
Yeah, I think you were telling us the story last time.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's a weird tale.
Yes, it is.
Honestly, it feels like, and I say this only respective to the other episodes, it feels like a weaker episode, but only like marginally. Like not necessarily a weak episode, just weaker in comparison to everything else so far.
It was kind of it did feel like a bit of an odder episode because it was more about the Zeon story than anything else. It was like the white base just kind of happened to be there.
Well, I mean, Char had to use the Federation to take care of his rodent problem.
And it makes this odd attempt to almost try to humanize Garma a little bit. They don't try too hard, but they try just a little bit. It doesn't really work, but
I kind of like the attempt they did with it to try and do just that, where we got to see him as being and being human, to not necessarily being just all gung ho on the idea.
And it's the idea that there are heroes and villains from both sides of the war. I mean, not everyone on Zeon's side is evil, and not everyone on the Federation side is good. It's kind of that gray area that Gundam kind of dabbles in.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, is he good or evil? We'll have to decide. But Jace is in the chat.
Oh yeah, he's evil.
I don't know. I see two faces. He could be both.
Oh, that the one face is just the people. The other face is his real face.
It's actually funny. So I have a 3D printed no face from Spirited Away. I have that mask like hanging on the wall behind me. Not that you can see it through this command deck, but
it's in your captain's quarters.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Well, enough kind of beating around the bush. Should we actually get into the episode coverage? And then once we get to the other side, we can get a little bit more into it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, as Ironcaster mentioned, this is episode 10, Garma's Fate. For those of you unfamiliar with the format of this show, and that should be next to no one at this point, I will read a synopsis of the episode scene by scene, and we will pause every so often to discuss amongst ourselves and take questions and comments from you, the chat. Let's begin. The episode opens at a large, regal party in Xeon-occupied territory.
North
Char
America.
and Garma mingle before engaging in private conversation about the former mayor, Eschenbach. Eschenbach is no friend to the Xeon, but can do nothing but kowtow to them to protect his family, including his daughter, Iselina. Garma and Iselina sneak off to a secluded spot, and speak of how Iselina's father refuses to allow them to see each other, a forbidden romance on the front lines. Garma explains that if he can capture the White Base and its secrets, his father may no longer stand between them, and if his wish isn't granted, Garma will abandon Xeon altogether. An underling interrupts them, informing Garma that the White Base is making a break for the final Xeon defensive line. He speeds off in the GAW to the ruins of the nearby city to stop it before it can pass the last defense between them and the sea.
So, kind of going through the party a little bit here. We have, of course, Char just kind of lurking about on the sidelines, kind of paying attention and watching Garma as he's plotting, scheming.
I'd like to point out one thing is that I think in the last episode or one of your episodes, you guys were talking about like what time period this takes place in, and I sent you guys the pictures that I took from one of the resource books that I have, and so the events of the story starts out in mid-September, and now this episode takes place in early October. So it's been about 2 weeks since White Base left Side 7. Yeah, September 18th, and now it's October 4th.
Okay, nice. Yeah, they give very vague time frames sometimes, but they hardly ever keep track of how long it's been. I think it's mentioned like once or twice in like the lead up to the events of previous episodes.
Yeah.
Also, let me pull out the beginning real quick. The portrait of Dagwin there is our first hint at our first image of him.
The Sovereign.
Mm-hmm.
Or think what he's known as Sovereign, the Duke.
Yeah, something to that effect. Yeah.
Okay. Hello, Islington girl. So to kind of explain a little bit, Gundam basically does different timelines, and Gundam Wing is basically its own thing, where the only thing it really has in common with this show is the fact that there are big robots called Gundams.
And it takes place on Earth.
Yes.
So this is a part of the Universal Century timeline, and Gundam Wing takes place in the After Colony timeline.
Yeah, by and large, for a while there they were trying to get away from this whole long timeline of franchise of series. They wanted to try something standalone. That was where we got ones like G Gundam and Gundam Wing, both of which are their own standalone series.
Yeah, Future, After Colony, After War, Universal Century, which is the main one, which is this one here, Cosmic Era, so on and so forth.
Yep. Yeah. So, yeah. The Universal Century is probably the largest of them, because there are about 5-6 series that are all contained within that timeline, along with several standalone movies,
OVAs.
Yep.
Right. The Universal Century contains the bulk of the story, but then what Islington Girl, what you're referring to is it's basically a parallel reality. It's a parallel story, but they're not interconnected in any way.
Right.
Except
And
for
then
the
some odd
Turn A Gundam, where kind of all Turn A Gundam is kind of like a converging point for all the timelines or something like that.
Yeah, as if it wasn't weird enough already.
Yeah. Yep. Hope that answers the question. So kind of pulling back up. We of course have people standing by and sucking up to
politicians.
Garma. Exactly. People trying to get in good with the established powers that be, which, you know, it's one of those universal things that's true of humanity.
The
You
only
have people who
person
will try to take advantage of a moment to try to get some sort of scrap of power.
the only person that's not doing that is Mr. Eckenbach, who, yeah, like right as Jay said, he's sticking around for his family, and
We sort of lost you there.
where did I leave off?
Eckenbach.
Yeah, Eckenbach is sticking around for his family and for the people that he used to administrate over.
Yeah. And also we had, of course, women swooning over Garma as being the young, attractive hair to be.
Is that a joke about his hair?
he's always messing with his hair, just constantly brushing a lock out of the way.
Yeah, that little twirly bit that he does.
It's a nervous habit of his, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when he's whenever he's always under some sort of pressure, he's annoyed about something. It is very much his go-to.
And in this hello. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. In this episode, we see Garma is actually doesn't seem that bad of a guy. We see a more personal side of him. I mean, he even talks about how he respects Mayor Achenbach compared to the other slimy, greedy politicians that are kissing up to him. And he seems genuinely in love with Iselina, even admitting that he is willing to leave Zeon to be with her if his father, the sovereign of Zeon, doesn't respect their relationship.
Yeah, it's a very Romeo and Juliet story, which is actually a pretty nice insertion to what is a pretty short episode. And yeah, it's absolutely shown that Garma, he has no love lost for either side, and if he could wash his hands of the entire situation, he would in an instant.
Yeah. And if you watch Gundam Origin, you see a lot that Garma is not like his older siblings.
Yeah, absolutely. They all have much more thirst for power.
Mm-hmm. I would say the only one what you could really say is comparable is Dozel, but even he succumbs to the family.
I think he's more so on military honor than family greed, like his younger sister and two older brothers. Though the one older brother we don't have to worry about because he's dead.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cecilia.
It's an interesting contrast to have this family of people that's not uniform, that they are all their own people, even though they're this ruling family.
Yep. They are all very interesting people, and I would say Dozel and Garma are probably the best two of the bunch, but we'll see more of Dozel as time goes on. And I would say unfortunately, like what I think is Dozel Zabi's best moments take place in Origin, so we don't really even get into that with this show.
Yeah, I think I remember reading someplace that Garma's mother is different from the others. I think Garma is a half sibling, but I'm not. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember exactly if that is true or not.
Well, it depends. Do any of the others have purple hair?
I'm actually gonna look that up.
I want to say yes, but I can't remember.
I'm actually gonna look that up.
Kaisili's a redhead.
I think "Don't quote me on that" is going to go for all of us for the rest of this series of shows. Just default, don't quote me on that.
We should make a soundbite of that.
All right, I'm going to continue on.
Yep.
Okay. White Base is attempting to sneak through the city under the cover of darkness, but the Xeon forces catch up to them. Amuro offers to distract them so the ship can make her escape, but the squadron uses a flare to light up the night sky. Bright decides to hide in a nearby sports stadium and shut down, waiting for a chance to attack. All 3 Federation mobile suits are made ready to deploy. Fraubo tends to what civilians remain on board the ship, as Garma and his forces fly overhead but can't find them. Knowing they haven't left the city, Garma orders that they begin carpet bombing the area. Back at the Eckenbach residence, Iselina tries to escape in a jet to see Garma. 2 men grab her, dragging her back to her father, who knows of Garma's plan to attempt to marry her. When she says that she has the right to choose for herself, he slaps her and orders the men to keep the keys to the jet away from her.
Take a drink.
Yep. Oh,
Bum,
and
bum,
I figured let's go ahead.
bum, 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 bum. And I want
Hey,
to
Fenrir.
another one bites the dust. hey, you're gonna get him. Garma's finally dead. Look at that, he's
Not
Not
finally
that far yet.
We're not that far ahead yet.
God damn it!
Yep.
Sorry.
We're in the middle of
Shit.
of Garma's fiance crying.
Damn it!
We're in the middle of more people getting slapped.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh. The sound.
Yeah. Sorry about the delay, gentlemen. I've been working double shifts all day, moving boxes, dealing with a shit ton of.
Wow.
I'll
Now,
try not
I mean,
to use my power, but I make
and
no promises.
I'm trying to remember.
Well, thank you.
Did you mention that the city was Seattle? Just for like people who want to know the geography.
Oh no, I don't think that came up.
Yeah, it's Seattle, and I think when I actually read over like the actual city like months ago, there were 2 proposed domes that the White Base hid in, but one was torn down in like the late 2000s. So it's now.
I guess that decides which one it is now.
Yes, it's gonna be. It's actually not in Seattle, but it's kind of a within the Seattle metropolitan area.
Yeah, the SeaTac
And
area.
I think some resources have said that it's not Seattle, but it's New York, and some Japanese resources, but they spell it as New York.
If it was mentioned in the episode, I didn't notice it. So
Yeah, I think they say it's S3 area, and so most people refer to that as Seattle.
Yeah.
And
Fenrir couldn't handle it not being Seattle.
most games,
I
I think
really want that place to be destroyed.
most games refer
In Gundam,
to it
we
as
want to see it
Seattle.
destroyed in Gundam.
Yeah, and that too.
So Seattle's got the majority vote, basically.
Mhm.
That's good enough for me.
Yeah, I'm happy with it.
Either that or Portland.
Same general
Is Portland
area.
ever mentioned in the Gundam world?
Nope.
I like to believe that it no longer exists there.
Well, I mean,
Me too.
we trying to think. I think Portland would still be a city within the area. It's just under heavy Xeon occupation.
Yeah, they jump from place to place rather quickly in the series. Like they don't stay in one position for more than an episode or 2.
Yeah, because I think it was 2 episodes
Well, it'd be
alone.
risky.
2 episodes ago, we were at the Grand
Military
Canyon.
Military speaking,
Something like that.
militaristically speaking, it would be a bad move. I mean, they have
If
to
I
stay on
try
the move.
remember, if I try to remember correctly, their original intention was to go to South America to Jaburo, but they got off course and they ended up somewhere in the middle of Xeon controlled territory. I think around the Gulf of Mexico, and they proceeded to go northward up through
to probably try to get to Alaska.
Maybe. So they went through the Grand Canyon, and then they're going further north into the they're currently in Seattle. So to get to Federation controlled waters, I guess the Pacific.
Yeah, you would think. It's a very odd roundabout way, but
I mean, instead of heading straight south, but I mean, if you're heading straight south, you're heading directly towards probably the brunt of the Zeon army.
Yeah, that's
likely. Apparently the Mexican cartels are still there, so they'd rather go around.
I mean, who knows? Maybe the Mexican cartels are in league with the Zeons. I mean, they traded from the Mexican the Mexican government to the Earth Federation government.
So there was a movie that came out within the last few years. It had Danny Trejo in it.
Wait, there's a Mexican government? I always thought it was.
Yeah.
I always thought it was led by coyotes.
Country was led by the coyotes are the ones helping people across the border. But I'm sorry, Brightus, what you were saying there was a movie with Danny Trejo?
I was going to say there's a movie with Danny Trejo in it, and in it the Mexican cartels have giant combat mechs, and I can't remember what it's called. It's just
why have I not known about this sooner?
Was it Machete?
It's not Machete, but it's. I mean, it might as well have been Machete.
Okay, I gotta look this up now.
Yeah, I forget what it was called, but it's like Mexican cartel has battle mechs. That's exactly what I thought of. It's ridiculous.
Okay, let's see.
Is this a prelude to G Gundam?
No, I don't think so.
It would be very interesting to have Danny Trejo voice the character in Gundam.
Yeah, God, he's freaking old though. He's like in his 70s or 80s.
He's up there.
He's very up there. All right, I'm gonna read the next.
Oh, it's called Cartel 2045.
There we go.
The movie is called Cartel 2045.
Yep.
It's
okay.
pretty good.
To the list.
Posters look cool.
So, please continue.
All right. Garma continues searching, and Char offers to go out on recon. Garma, however, insists that he be the one to go, and Char wonders if his feelings for Iselina are clouding his judgment. Char eventually talks him into it, and deploys along with 2 other Zakus. Gundam is deployed in an effort to set up an ambush. However, Char spots Amuro, and the squad moves to attack. After a few moments and a lucky kill, Char sees through his tactics, and uses them to lure Garma within White Base's attack range. Garma takes the bait, and between the combined firepower of gun cannon, gun tank, and the carrier, the Zeon squadron is decimated.
Catch up a little bit here.
Yeah.
We got a shot of Amuro firing right through a apartment building. Let's see, we have our axe. Melee range seems to be one of the biggest weaknesses. Seems to be a pretty good spot for holding off Amuro. But then again, we've seen what he does with his beam sabers.
One thing is to point out is just look at the condition of Seattle at this point in time. There was a major battle between the Federation and the Zeon for control of the city.
Well, that's also kind of been an ongoing look with all the Zeon territory.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, if this is area they control, they probably would be. I wouldn't say. Yeah, I'd say ruthless. They'd be ruthless in rooting out whatever resistance they could.
Well, I do recall reading someplace that after the Federation withdrew from the areas, there were still Federation forces within the area that were just basically guerrilla fighters, and we'll actually see some of that in Amuro Goes Home or Amuro Comes Home in a couple episodes.
Yeah, and you get that. We're not covering that, but in the 8th MS team, you have the same thing, and it's actually a major plot point of that series is the guerrilla fighters.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Which is great.
More to come on that.
That's a very important and oft overlooked part of almost any major war.
Yeah, the people that were already there who are being oppressed, who are being
the people
either fought over on fought on their
The
behalf.
collateral damage. Pretty much the collateral damage. The collateral damage, pretty much.
They just want to be left alone, but they have the Federation and the Zeons bugging them both, so...
Yeah, so that would be weird,
Collateral
too,
damage.
is if there's a group out there that wanted neither the Earth Federation or Zeon control.
Well, in the movie, Thunderbolt, the second one, something flower, Bandit Flower, you do have that religious sect that took control of Central and Southern Asia and the Indian Ocean and Oceania, and were basically about on the verge of declaring independence from the Federation right after the 1-year war ended.
That's an incredibly large area to be so vague about.
I know. I mean, I just know about the general size of it because of the movie, because they showed a map of the area. They had
Okay,
control over India, Southeast Asia,
You know something?
Yeah.
You know something? Looking at this franchise, I wonder, how was there never a third party? Someone, and other organizations that rose like the Zeon, to have their own independence, their own worlds. How can that never have happened?
Well,
a spark
some
can
of the
inspire
later
other
series
sparks.
some of the later series do touch on that idea. For example, Zeta brings up the Titans, or as the Char's counterattack calls them, the Titans.
I mean, but those don't really form until later on in the timeline. But I mean, presently, you have this religious sect which is currently allied with the Federation for the meantime, until after the war, which they will try to declare independence. And then you have what we'll eventually know later on is Side 6, or the Republic of Rena, or Rhina, or something like that. Or
Let me take one moment to acknowledge the chat real quick. Jace, I'm glad to hear you're liking this so far, and hopefully we can finally convince you to go ahead and give this show a start. It is a great show to watch, and it shows a lot of sides of war that I think a lot of people need to kind of see. And that was kind of one of the things I kind of like about this, that I was kind of hoping to bring out, was to, well, for one thing, talk about some good classic shows, and hopefully get some people talking.
Because the networks today aren't giving us anything good. I mean, they've just released information about this new animated comedy they're making, and that they're going to do a live action Pokemon.
Yeah.
We're not getting anything from the West.
Yeah, but which is why I wanted to try to go back to the past and grab some of the good stuff.
Okay, so the Side 6 is neutral in this whole war, and they're adopted the name of the Rhea Republic. RIAH, Rhea.
Okay. Yep. Wanted to greet Nerdporio Lifeform for joining us in the chat. Who I might have to see about getting on one of these times.
Yeah, I would like that. That would be interesting.
Yeah, he seems like
I've got someone planned for episode. I've got someone planned for episode 12 coming up, but maybe next week, maybe in the next couple of weeks, we could talk offline.
Okay.
Yep. He also wants to say this was a great episode, and that Char is a real bastard. I mean, that hurts a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, yes, because he's very conniving.
He is one.
Yeah, and how he goes about trying to accomplish his goals, he's extremely backhanded. But it's because cunning is one of his primary attributes.
Yep.
Like, he is one of the most cunning characters.
He's been planning this for years.
And yes, Islington girl, the blonde dude is Char. He's who I like to call the secret character protagonist of the main Universal Century timeline.
He's also the main antagonist.
Yes.
And also, since you mentioned Wing earlier, anytime you see a blonde-haired character wearing a mask in a Gundam series, that is referred to by trope as a Char clone, and that character is a stand-in for what Char is in this series.
Actually, it's any character with a mask on that's hiding their real identity.
Also, there's
usually blonde.
Except for
series
Darth
is
Vader. Except for Darth Vader. I believe that
this
Char
series is famous
was
for a
inspired
lot
by
of.
Vader.
The series is famous for a lot of tropes that are basically invented from it. For example, Char has a variant on the regular mobile suits that the others in his troop use. It's his is painted red and it's 3 times as fast. So
Yes.
red ones go faster is kind of started here.
Johnny Ryden.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I also believe they took that from the. You ever heard the story about the World War II pilot who flew a red airplane in the battle? I think they took it from that
World
part of
War I.
mythology.
Yeah,
Oh, that would
World War
be
One,
the
yeah,
Red
World
Baron
War
of
One,
the
World
Red
War I,
Baron of World War One.
the
Yeah,
Red Baron.
which
I feel
Char is
Char
kind
is
of
inspired
inspired by. So,
by that.
in a sense,
I
yes.
feel that he is. I feel that he is,
oh,
and it would make sense
yes,
seeing the stories.
yeah. There's kind of a build up with Char over a lot of the episodes where it's meant to make you kind of wonder what is he thinking, and in this episode you see him finally putting into action a lot of the stuff he's been kind of plotting, and finally actually doing something. Yep, and also Nerd Proyo likes to give us a nice little list of many of them.
Eye patch guy in F91. Like that.
Chronicle and Victory, Schwartz, Birder and G, guy with red shades in turn A, and I feel like you could also say the ringside announcer from G.
Actually, there was a picture I came across when I was like looking up Char Aznable the other day.
I'm trying.
I know, it's funny though. It's just like that guy really his whole existence is, and you can't even really say that because he takes the eye patch off at the end and it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen real quick.
Go ahead.
This is all of the known Char clones.
Oh yeah, I've seen this image. This is actually nice.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Char himself.
I've never seen this before.
How'd you get this picture of the tattoo on my back?
Wait, so these are all the Char clones after Char?
Yeah,
Yes.
Char. You have Full Frontal. You have the guy from F91,
Jesus.
Gundam
Jeez, I'm starting to
Victory,
think they've lost a little creativity with a
Schwartz,
few of these.
Zex Marquis.
Marquis.
Two
Look, I'm
guys
just gonna
from
say,
Gundam
none of these
Seed,
guys.
00.
I'm just saying, none of these guys. I'm not
and
seeing any of
Renee.
them actually beating the original. I'm not seeing them beating the original.
The
results.
original. I mean,
Yeah.
but it's the whole concept of you have a masked or facial
Or-
obscured character who has a mysterious past or of something of that nature.
I mean, I would say probably the only one who comes closest in terms of that popularity would be Zex from Gundam Wing, but that's also kind of relies on the fact that Gundam Wing is also just the most popular one in the United States.
And I would say, as far as actual imagery goes, the closest to Char is Zex and then Full Frontal. I'd say they're the
Also-
closest look wise.
No, Quattro.
Wow.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Quattro's right there.
Yeah. We'll get to Quattro eventually.
Wink,
Okay.
wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, Fenrir will find out about that later.
And then there is, when I was reading
Wait,
through,
find
there
what
was.
about what?
Don't worry about that.
Yes,
And what
don't worry
about what?
A later series
Exactly.
character.
There is a story out there called Gaia Gear. That's like later on that's very far into the future of Universal Century, that has a literal Char clone fighting for one of the sides of this conflict. He doesn't even know that he's a clone until later on.
Nice. What's that,
Yep.
What
Zex
does
is
that
a little.
remind me of? There's another story where someone finds out he's a clone later on. Yeah, I'll think of it later.
You're a clone, Harry.
And I found out a little interesting bit about the protagonist of Victory Gundam, that there's some theory, there's a fan theory out there that he is the great-great-grandson of Char, because his mother has the maiden name his mother's maiden name was the same, is spelled in Japanese the same way that his lover in Char's counterattack's name is spelled in Japanese, even though in English they're not the same spelling. So there's some people that theorize that Char had a daughter with her, or something of that nature, and she had a daughter, and she had a son that we have in Victory Gundam Victory.
I mean, also Nerpoil. Yeah, that's kind of accurate.
Yeah. So Victory Gundam takes place almost some 60 years after the original series, so that timeline would add up.
Which is still like 20 years after Hathaway.
Yes, something like that.
Here, let's go. Well, should we get back into it and wrap this up?
Yeah, catch up to where we were. So when the Gaw starts to get attacked.
Yep. All right. So we got the Gaw. Garma's off being purple. I'm like, my purple hair. And we see it's got big guns.
Yes, very large guns.
Particle cannons.
Yeah. Which, considering just the sheer size of this thing, makes them look a little dinky.
I should find a layout that has all the size comparisons, because that would be interesting to see. I know they're out there.
It's not the size that matters; it's how you use it.
Well, I mean, earlier in the episode, we did see the front of this open up for
both.
for the Zaku's just to like walk out.
It's actually just one.
Although, and also those on the sides there would be hangars. So
right, yeah, because it carries fighter craft as well.
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen,
Needless
I'm
to say,
sorry
this
to
is just
say,
a-
but I really can't make it out through this. I can't make it through this. I'm just very tired. I need to drop out.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you for showing up, Fenrir. I appreciate it.
See you around.
I literally apologize to everybody on the chat. I promise next week I'll pay it up. I'll make it up to you guys by bringing a lot of jokes on Garma
No joy.
after his death. Probably bad to joke on a dead person, but who cares? He's a cartoon. So, see you guys next week.
Posthumous.
Peace to you all. I'm going to go hit the bed.
Posthumous death. Posthumous jokes.
We'll have Fenrir give the eulogy.
Well, I mean, after all, Daegwon did want a nice word said about his son. In the real world and also in the cartoon, he's not going to have neither.
Yep. So he's not going to have Fenrir give the eulogy.
No.
But I think we all know the truth of what happened. Fenrir's running away from Wake Down.
Oh.
Hail to the Wake Down.
Hi, Wake Down. It was fun having you on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm glad I could point him.
Oh, you got him. Let's see. So catch you. Where do we leave off with? Fairy explosions.
Yeah, they destroy some of the fighters, and the Gaw starts to get attacked.
Yeah.
Which he's flying right into a lot of damage.
That's a lot of damage. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, as the Gaw is struck, Char contacts Garma, telling him that he really was a good friend, but his unfortunate birth in the Zabi family caused Char's betrayal. Garma turns the Gaw around and attempts to kamikaze run into the White Base in a blaze of glory. He shouts that he will be victorious for the nation of Zeon, but the Gaw is destroyed by White Base's guns, just short of making it to the carrier. Amuro is called just as the sun begins to rise.
Glory to the Principality of Zeon.
Yep. We're all a little bit jealous of Garma's hair.
It makes you wonder
Go ahead.
what color it was actually supposed to be, if purple was just a choice to make it on the cell.
Well, I mean, they gotta have some way of differentiating him from everyone else. It's also Japanese anime. I mean, look at Bright's hair. It looks kind of greenish.
Yeah.
Does it?
Greenish
Yeah,
gray.
there is a little bit of a green to it.
Okay.
Fire explosion. Glory to Xeon.
And he tries to ram the white base. And it goes boom.
Yeah. To be fair, not the worst strategy given the size of the ship we were just discussing.
Yep.
And
Back
she... Yeah,
let me just read the last paragraph.
Yeah.
Back at the Eckenbach mansion, the former mayor informs his daughter that Garma has been killed in battle. She runs outside, weeping bitterly. Inside 3, on the far side of the moon, Daegwin Sotozabi, sovereign of Xeon, drops his cane in an awe-filled stupor when he receives the news, and stands there in silent shock, with no words to express his loss. We get this nice still image.
Sovereign Sato Daegwin Zabi. Or Daegwin Sato Zabi. Yeah.
I want to back up. Like, what a headquarters! Holy cow! This thing is crazy big.
Yeah, I kind of figured you were going to harp on this.
Yeah,
The palace.
I think I need a new background now. As much as the evil like bunny ear like cabin behind me is, like the evil sword hilt design.
Yeah, and it's like I understand it's on the far side of the moon, but even if they have artificial gravity, that building shouldn't like be structurally sound, like at all.
I mean, it is plastered on the inner wall of the cylinder, so that's why they give it a spin to create a centrifugal force to create artificial gravity on the that's why.
Yeah,
inside
my
the
point is
colonies.
that the building is just not structured. It's like the engineering just doesn't look like it would work.
Well, I mean,
It's just weird.
It is a couple hundred years into the future, so who knows what wonders of architecture we've discovered by then.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the episode of Garma's Fate. I mean, it was kind of odd to have a primarily Xeon focused story, then have all our main characters be sidelined.
It was, but I think is this the first truly Xeon centric episode so far in the series? Was there another one that I'm forgetting?
I mean, with the others, we've always had a bit of a mix of seeing both sides. Like, we would see Garma, like, subtly damaging fuses to try and get rid of Garma, but then that would be combined with Amuro being a little baby.
Yeah. So I guess this really is the first, not I say the first of its kind, but the first of this series that focuses primarily on this side.
And we don't see them on a ship or anything. They're at a party. They're being normal-ish people instead of being warriors.
Yeah, this is like the occupied France section.
Yeah, it is.
Not to make a direct World War II comparison, but we've already made a direct World War I comparison, so might as well.
Well, I mean, later on in the series, you'll have a direct, do you know who Adolf Hitler is? Quote from someone to another person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, the guy who lived in the Middle Ages. I guess for them, we are the Middle Ages.
Yeah. Do you know
I can only
when the Universal Century starts in relation to AD time?
To some, there's no definite explanation. I think it's somewhere within probably the next 100 years or so.
Okay.
Next 100 or so years, because
interesting.
I mean, the first in a lot of the timelines that I've seen, the last AD comment is like 1998, and then it swaps over to UC 0001.
Okay.
With the founding of the Federation and the declaration of the Universal Calendar. Universal Century calendar. And then Gundam Unicorn, we have that nice little precursor of all the events of in the very beginning of the first Federation Prime Minister talking about the end of the Anno Domini and the beginning of the Universal Century before all the fun happens.
Yeah. It's a nice little retcon they try to throw in there at the end of that one, but I didn't mind that one so much. I didn't mind Unicorn. Actually, I liked some of the designs in it.
Oh yeah, same.
Yeah,
I have a Sazabi that's pulled apart at the finish.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the Sazabi in full frontal there, which I could have probably done without the full frontal bit, but it kind of worked for what they were going with.
And
to imply this
Neo Zeong.
Yeah. Oh god. Oh, have you seen the model for that? It's freaking gigantic. Oh my god.
It's I mean the thing itself was huge.
Yeah.
I mean it made the Neo Zeal look tiny from 0083.
Right. Yeah, I saw a couple of them, and they're in that one walkthrough video I did. It is, for a high grade, it's absolutely massive. Just ridiculous.
And there's not just one, but there's two of them. In Narrative 2.
What? Holy cow! I am just discovering this thing.
Yeah.
It's
like, yep.
Oh god. Oh god.
It just looks so goofy.
So, how
gee.
tall is the unicorn supposed to be roughly? Like, how tall is the average Gundam supposed to be?
If those are master grades, those are like somewhere between 9 and 12. So I think it's maybe like a foot.
I mean, like full scale.
Full scale?
You
30 to 40 meters. I think the unicorn's a little bit taller.
So that's a little bit more than 30, 40 meters.
Yeah, we bet. And it's funny because with this and with the Dendrobium that I got, you actually get if you look center on the chest there, you get that suit to build along with the thing that it's piloting.
Okay, so ow, I just kicked something. The maximum height of the unicorn in its unicorn mode is 19.7 meters, and in destroyer mode it's 21.7 meters.
Really? Okay.
Let's see here. Let me see if maybe I can find the Neo Zeong.
I can't remember what was 30 meters then. I remember something was 30 meters tall. Probably some other series.
The Neo Zeong is 116 meters. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big old boy.
Oh yeah.
And look at all those weapons, including its fun little weapon that destroys other weapons.
Its little puppet controlling bits.
Yeah.
Oh, those two.
Yeah. It's just, so the only thing I don't like about mechs that are this size is that just the shape gets so dumbed down. And we haven't even hit the part of this series where they start to talk about mobile armors yet. So this is essentially just a mobile armor, but it sort of looks like a suit. So it's kind of blending those two together.
I mean, it is classified as a mobile armor.
Yeah. But then again, it's got a roughly bipedal shape, even though why would it? It's just weird. This is where it starts to blend the lines for me.
I mean, in Zeta Gundam, I'm on the part where they bring in brought in the Zeta. Well, I'm past that part. They're brought in the Zeta Gundam, and they've been referring to the transformable suits as mobile armors before they transform.
Okay.
Real quick. Let's see. Wake Down is saying he had a lot of fun with that, and we'll have episode 2 on Sunday.
Yeah, they're talking about, so on Sundays, Jace and I were having a stream talking about the Star Wars Expanded Universe, the old EU.
Right.
That we referred to as the Archives of the Jedi, Tales from the Archives of the Jedi Archives. Tales from the Jedi Archives. So we had Wake Down in on our first episode, and we talked a little bit about the EU novel, Into the Void, and about a little bit of the history of the Jedi, JE''DAII order.
That's right. That's right. I was on the road that day, so I wasn't able to listen.
On the road again. Do 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 do. On the road again.
Yeah,
I'm
trapped in a car for 5 hours without internet, without any sort of cell service.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I'm really glad I was able to point you to someone who was able to come on your show. That was my aim.
Yes. Thank you very much. It was definitely fun.
So, so kind of let's get back to the episode real quick. So,
No.
I mean, all right. I mean, I guess we can sit here and talk about other things, but I thought people would want to hear about big robots and Gundams in a show that's supposed to be about big robots and Gundam.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine. Now I noticed one thing that you guys do is that you refer to the attack carriers as what again?
The GAW?
Okay, I've always heard them referred to as GAWs, GAW.
That's how I'm spelling it. I go by whatever the pronunciation is of the episode that I'm watching.
Oh. I've heard various sources say GAW.
Gao and Gaw, yeah.
Yep. But some things can get lost in translation. I mean, there was the aforementioned Tetons.
Yes, I've seen it spelled as GAW and GAU.
Yeah. Again, so I just for the purposes of this, I go based on the pronunciation of the episode I watch. Just that it's fresh in my head.
Yeah, just as they spell like New York, the Japanese spell it as New York, and some sources I have no clue why.
The Great Canyon.
That is different to where in previous episodes I had to clarify that the white base's actual designation is white base, even though the Zeon keep referring to it as the Trojan horse.
Yes, because they don't know the name of the white base yet. They're still collecting information on it. They won't get a name until much later on.
Mm-hmm.
Foreshadowing.
What's that?
So what would you guys give this episode on a scale of 1 to 10?
I think it's probably about a 7.
That's roughly where I'm at. I was going to say 7.5.
Yeah, I would say about 7 too. It's fun action. Not a horrible story. It's kind of it could have used a little more spicing up, but I did like giving the Zeons a more human face instead of the big Cyclops, the green big Cyclops that's trying to kill our heroes.
The big green Cyclops of love that we shall only call it. I feel like the relationship with Garma could have been better set up. Like if there had been some mentions or we had seen him writing a letter, like a little something to do rather than just kind of drop it in at and what was ultimately his last episode.
Exposition.
Yes, just a little bit. We don't need the narrator to give us the description of the relationship.
Yeah, I agree. A scene writing a letter would have been a nice insert and would have set it up, or maybe like receiving a letter with a picture, perhaps.
Yeah,
are you talking about of Icelinda?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a small gripe. Like again, I think we discussed earlier. This is a relatively weaker episode just based on the episodes that we've covered so far, but it's still fairly strong on its own.
Yep. Also, it's finally nice to see Char actually finally manage to get some of his plotting actually lead to something. But
he scores his first major victory. It just happens to be against his own side.
Well, Char is on Char's side.
Right. Yeah, you know what I mean.
That's true.
But yeah, I very much agree. And he purposely sets it up because what's going on is that the Gundam is leading away from the white base and out in front of the white base, and Char notices and he's like, there's something on here. Why is he running away from us? And he basically turns back around and jumps over a couple buildings and is like, oh, So that's what you're doing. A little clever, but I saw it right through it. Hey, Garma, go ahead and follow the Gundam.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. His tactical genius is like very clearly put on display in multiple episodes. He sees through tactics almost instantly.
I choose to believe that Char just reads the script.
He's like, what's the next move? Flip, flip, flip. Oh, okay, cool.
It's like
what am I supposed to do? Flip, flip. Oh, okay.
That's why he's got the plot. That's why he's got plot armor, because he's the protagonist.
Robin Hood med in tights. I get another
Exactly.
shot.
He gets another shot.
He gets another shot.
He gets a shot.
All right.
I don't think he can end it any better here, but I think let's go out on a high. So that was the best way to go. Should we?
No, that
let's go ahead and
oh, geez.
Sorry.